Well, hello everybody. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. And here we are on April the 1st, 2022, the day of the Aries New Moon. And I am about to record the Weirdly Cosmic podcast for the Libra full moon that is coming up in 2 weeks' time. But before I do, I'm Louise Eddington, astrologer and author of 3 books. I have them all here. I have Modern Astrology, my first book, my bestseller, The Complete Guide to Astrology. So proud. And my newest book, which I'm ultimately also very proud of, The Complete Guide to Tarot and Astrology. So, get my books, book a consultation, join my membership community. Um, I just love working with astrology and tarot and other magical energies and numbers and so on and so forth. So today we are here to look at the Libra new moon. Sorry, full moon, as I said, that is coming up. It's going to be on April the 16th. But before we do, I always look at a card and pull a card for the lunation. And for this lunation, I actually pulled the star, one of my favorite cards. I think I say that about all the cards there. Now, this is the principle of self-sufficiency and the kind of self-esteem and confidence that radiates confidence. It's not inflated, it's not deflated. The quote that goes with this from the Angeles Arian book is, "We convince by our presence," which is Walt Whitman. And you can just see how in tune, in alignment with the stars, bringing everything down to earth, connected with the heavens, connected with the earth, this figure is. And this is the case in all decks, really, that the star is very connected, heaven and earth. But I pulled this reversed for this lunation. So I actually want to plug my book again by telling you what I said about that reversed. So the star reversed is a sense of hopelessness, pessimism, and ignoring messages from the cosmos. And I think that's very relevant for this lunation because there's some pretty big things coming up before the lunation and on it. So before I share the chart, I do want to say that the Libra full moon is on April the 16th, 2022 at 12:55 p.m. Mountain, which is 7:55 p.m. Universal Time. I think by then everybody will have changed clocks, so hope I'm right on the time change. And it's at 26 degrees Libra. A full moon is always an opposition, moon opposing the sun. But before I want to show you the chart, I just want to say that before we have the full moon, between now, April the 1st and April the 16th, we have Mars meeting Saturn at 22 degrees Aquarius and squaring the nodes on April the 4th, which is a really big day. Okay. We also have on Mars will meet Saturn on April the 4th. Then Mars will square the nodes just right after. But Saturn will not square the nodes till April the 11th. So basically, between now and then, we've got Mars and Saturn squaring the nodes. And that's always a turning point and a pivot point. So there's a lot going to change between now and then. And I will point to it on the chart, but I wanted to just say we've got those dates coming up. That week between April the 4th and April the 11th is really a big turning point. The planets are then moving towards the North Node, which is our collective future, our potential, our Dharma, if you like. Then on April the 12th, right before the full moon, we also have Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, which is the first conjunction in Pisces. They meet every 13 years, but the first conjunction in Pisces since I heard on the podcast today, somebody said 1856. I thought it was 1865, but anyway, it's the late 1800s. So it's quite rare, and that was a time of rising spiritualism and so on and so forth. Interestingly, it was also connected with the Crimean War, and Crimea is a disputed territory between Russia and Ukraine. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on around that. So we've got some big events coming as we wax to full moon, between new moon and full moon. And then we've got eclipses coming. So this is a really big period. So I did want to mention all these things. Also, before then, we've got Venus moving into Pisces. So by the time of the full moon, we'll have Venus, who is exalted in Pisces, Jupiter and Neptune, who are the traditional and modern rulers of Pisces, all in the sign of Pisces. So I think we're moving to a more relationship, interconnected time of period. So now I'm going to share the chart, and then we'll look at all the numbers, the astrology, and then I'll read the symbols for you. I actually recorded this once, and the sound was so bad. I think there's something up with the mic I bought, that I've switched to AirPods. So I will have my proper mic sorted out by then, and I'm re-recording it. So that's an hour down the drain, but hey, well, the sound was horrible. It would have been really annoying. So if the sound's not pristine with the AirPods, I apologize, but it's probably better than it was with the way it was. So this is the chart. So as I said, April the 16th, 2022, which is 11 and 6, which is 17, which is an 8 universal day altogether. If you add all these up, an 8 universal day in a 6 year and a 7 day. We're going to look at some of those numbers, not all of them. But it's an 8 universal day, and the full moon is at 26 degrees, which is another 8. So it's a very 8 day, and we'll look at the number 8, of course. And we'll look at the numbers 2 and 6 because it's a 6 year with all those 2s as well. So 2s and 6s and 8s are huge. The other number that stands out in this, well, we also have Heiress and Pallas Athena also at 6, because 2 plus 4 is 6. They are conjunct the sun on the full moon. And then this full moon is actually, you can see this triangle that I've highlighted here in turquoise, my favorite color, is making a T-square to Pluto. So this is a full moon conjunct Pluto. And not only that, Pluto is actually stationing retrograde on April the 29th. So Pluto's pretty much at a standstill. So that makes this a very transformative full moon. And I'll talk about all the details later. We also have Jupiter and Neptune at 24 degrees, so another 6. So again, we'll be looking at all those numbers, 2, 6, and 8, quite a lot. And then one other thing I noticed looking at the highlighted numbers is that we have Pluto, HowMaya, and Sedna all at 28 degrees, all doing a dance with each other. And they are dwarf planets, Pluto's been around a while, but well, they've all been around for a while, but discovered for a while. But HowMaya and Sedna are 2 of the newly discovered dwarf planets, or starry messengers, as one of my fellow astrologers call them, kind of bringing in the big change that we're going through collectively. So they're all at 28 degrees. So another 2, another 8, and Juno's also at 28, and that's a 10-1 number. 2 plus 8 is 10 is 1. But before I just talk about all of this and go to the numbers, I wanted you to look at these lines. So I drew this cross. This one's to the lunar nodes. Now, we've been in a draconic bowl with all planets, the major planets, confined to this side of the nodes since early December. Ceres did cross out and Sedna crossed out, but all the personal planets and main planets are still confined in the draconic ball. But then I drew this other line, which is supposed to go through about 22 degrees, the 22-degree mark of the chart. And this shows that by the full moon, we actually have all the personal planets in one quarter, one quadrant of the chart. And this is really, really focused, concentrated, alchemical change. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen all the planets so close together. Pluto's out here, but everything else of the major planets is in one quadrant. Now, the other line is this red line. So between 2012 and 2015, we had 7 exact Uranus-Pluto squares. Okay, and they were kind of the period we felt them from about 2011. That major shifts started coming in. It took us through the whole 2012 thing. 2014 was the uprising in Ukraine. So we had 2 exact squares in 2014. And Pluto, Uranus are heading for their trine, which will be on July the 17th, 2026 at 4 degrees Aquarius and Gemini. But so they're not in aspect to each other. But the reason I've put the red line on is that not only are all the planets confined in a quadrant of the chart, they're all moving towards the North Node, and the North Node's moving towards them. They are also confined between Uranus and Pluto. And Uranus and Pluto are 2 of the biggest change makers that we've got. You know, Pluto, death and transformation, shit excavator, as I like to call him, digging up all the shadow for us to really kind of look and chuck away what we no longer need. And then Uranus is kind of the awakener. He's kind of sudden change, and so the 2 of them together are quite earthquakey, and we can see that we've gone through very earthquaking changes collectively, and they're still going through them. And now all the planets are squashed between those planets. They have been for a while, but we're also combining that with them being in a quadrant of the nodes, all heading towards that North Node now. So I just wanted you to see the patterns and just to get a feel for how intensely concentrated this energy is, and that kind of gives an indicator of the time we are going through. Incidentally, just to give you kind of a little bit of hope, Mercury moves beyond that North Node on April the 23rd. You can see that Mercury is only 2 degrees away from Uranus on this full moon. So after that Mercury crosses Uranus and then crosses the North Node on April 23rd, then followed by the Sun, and the Sun moves past the North Node, I think it was on May the 13th, things are really going to start breaking up. And after the eclipses on April the 30th and May the 16th, I think we're going to start to see real change and resolution. So I wanted to kind of give you a bit of hope about that. So let's stop sharing the chart and let's look at some of the numbers. So I said, remember, it's an 8 universal day, and the 8 shows up in, it's the degrees of the lunation. 26 degrees is an 8. So 8 vibrates to the energy of money, but also power, leadership, control, but it's strength. 8 is a very strong number. You can think about it, it's 2 equal circles, one on top of the other. You turn it on its side, it's actually the infinity symbol. It's a really balanced, stable, strong number. So 8 to me really represents huge strength. 8 is also the number of kind of cause and effect. It's form that is solidified into matter. It's got an element of as you reap, so shall you sow energy to it. So because this is a repeating number throughout this chart, there's so many eights, it kind of feels like we are pulling everything together and going forward with resolve and resolution to really kind of bring balance and harmony, and to really kind of reap the rewards of what we've sown. And hopefully we've sown good things, and to make things really real. And that comes in terms of relationships, but also our identity, but also the material world. So the 8 is just repeating over and over again. Now, the 26 degrees of the number that makes up 8 is made up of 2 and 6, and 2 is really the intuitive, the divine feminine kind of energy, and 6 is the number of the creativity, family, peacemaking, and it really brings together kind of great potential and success together by combining kind of the divine feminine and the peacemaking energies to create great strength in the 8. All right. So the 2 and the 6, the 26 is a very strong and robust number. Okay. But we also have the 28, as we saw. There's lots of 28s. So that is a 2 and an 8. So we've looked at the 2 and 8. And then it's a 10 or a 1. And that's new beginnings. Okay. And so a 28 is has got a great drive for success and leadership, and is quite independent, but is also combining that number of the 2, which is deeply intuitive and sensitive and very yin energy, if you like. Okay, so there's some beautiful numbers in this, and overall, I'm saying it's bringing in that feminine strength and creativity, not necessarily of women, but in all of us, and bringing it in and saying, I'm going to resolve to really bring success and bring achievement into what we're moving towards. So I hope that kind of makes sense for you, somewhat, the numbers. Now, as we look at the chart itself, again, I'm just going to talk about it. This is a full moon. It's a Libra full moon. And the Libra Aries axis is very much about who am I within the we. And it's also, Libra is also about meeting ourselves as well, and kind of bringing some balance in ourselves. The Aries energy can be really, well, it's wonderful. It's pioneering, it's energetic, it's active, it's really a leader and wants to kind of start things and really kind of forge ahead. It's the energy of the warrior, the athlete, the runner. You know, it really kind of is speed and fast and very direct and focused. But this Aries sun in it, and the sun is our core. So we have the sun in Aries on this full moon, is almost exactly conjunct Eris. And Eris kind of likes to take us down off our high horse a bit. Where are we kind of going? You know, it's all about me. Where am I going? You know, me first, me first, me first. Because in the story of Eris in the myth, she kind of takes down the elites just by throwing an apple into the midst and causing them to fight amongst themselves. So I always feel that Eris stands up for the outsider, the bits of ourselves we don't like and others that we don't like, and any negative traits of Aries, of the sun in Aries. On this full moon, I think Eris is kind of going to take them down a little bit, pull down the picket fence and say, you know, it's not all about you, and it's not all about everything that you want. We have to include the other, which is very Libra. So I'll talk about that side in a minute. Also, conjunct the sun in Aries on the full moon is Pallas Athena, which is the wise owl. Oh, incidentally, before I go on, this calendar, this is not sponsored, so I'm just telling you because I like it. April the 1st, look at this picture for the full moon. This artist is a page on Facebook called She Who Is, and I love her art, and I had to buy her calendar when I saw it, so I thought I'd show you. So go and check out her page and maybe buy her calendar. But Pallas Athena is the wise owl. That's what I was pointing at as well. And Pallas Athena is the problem solver. She's a strategist. She's the wise warrior goddess. But she's able to kind of see things, you know, see patterns, see into rabbit holes, see what needs adjusting. She can make a plan. So with Aries, she's kind of shaking our egos up a little bit in Aries over there, and Pallas Athena saying, "Here's a way forward." Okay, I think our egos are going to kind of be taken down a little peg or two if we're all about us. If it's me, 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 me. Now on the opposite end, the Libra Moon is conjunct HowMaya, which is the goddess of birth and fertility, and Alan Clay in Dwarf Planet Astrology, his site, he says that HowMaya is the new that is reborn from the old. Only HowMaya doesn't need to destroy to create. She births the new from a reinvigoration of heritage. And so, you know, we've got the moon in Libra, which is about balance, harmony, relationships, also relationship with our disowned self, the parts of ourself we don't like. It's about coming into balance. Libra is very much like the Justice card in the tarot, of the Libra bringing the balance, saying come to center, balance all halves, all opposites. And HowMaya is there saying, yes, we can birth this more just, more equal, more balanced, more harmonious society. And then the moon, the full moon, all of that I've talked about is square to Pluto, which is death and transformation, or it's kind of the caterpillar energy, the metamorphosis energy. And Pluto has been in Capricorn, bringing down our structures and our rules and kind of showing where it's not working, where the holes are. Even if you like the rule, you know, if they're that easily brought down, there was obviously holes in them. In all of our institutions and all of our own personal rules and rules to live by have been changing since 2008, and Pluto is square the nodes in this. And Pluto's strong in this full moon because only 2 weeks after the full moon, Pluto is stationing to go retrograde. So he's pretty much at a standstill already on the full moon. So there's a lot of transformation, metamorphosis, rebirth, and shaking up that old ego or the me kind of thing, and moving to this more balanced and more harmonious energy. And they're really the only aspects on the full moon, all right? So, you know, the full moon doesn't directly aspect much else. It makes a semi-sextile to Jupiter and Neptune, and we've got that beautiful energy of compassion and higher love that's all piling up in Pisces, like, you know, compassion, kindness, empathy, all those things are going to be heightened so much with all of this energy in Pisces. So we'll feel the oneness and interconnectedness of everything and want to move to something that's more harmonious, I think. The full moon is in aspect to Juno, though. Juno at 28 degrees of Aquarius. Juno is the cross of matter with the crown of spirit on the top of for symbols. She was Jupiter's wife, Zeus's wife, and she represented women and children, but she also kind of represents commitment, fairness, fidelity, all that kind of stuff. And she is adding another wriggle to this. You know, I think we are being called to a more fair and just world and creating that in our own lives. All right. So I wanted to just quickly talk about the dance between Pluto, Sedna, and HowMaya. They're all at 28 degrees. Pluto is trine Sedna on an ongoing trine for quite some time. HowMaya is joining the party. Pluto and HowMaya are in square to each other for quite some time. That means Sedna and HowMaya are quincunx, making an adjustment. Now, HowMaya in Libra, I've kind of talked about a little bit about kind of birthing, you know, more fairness things. She's finishing up her job. She's going to go into Scorpio next and dive into kind of creating more deeply bonded relationships, whereas now she's about partnership and creating that harmony. Planets generally are more impactful or their impact is often found on the planet after their discovery. So Pluto and HowMaya and Sedna, you know, are quite recently discovered, only in the early 2000s, and so their influence is only just being felt. But they all three are at 28 degrees, which is a 1, which is a new start. And so they are giving us this message of, you know, are you ready to really begin to create from all the lessons you've learned from our time in in these signs? I didn't look when HowMaya went into Libra, but she's been in there for quite a while. She has about double the orbit speed of Pluto, who's been in Capricorn since 2008. We are learning some big lessons, and over the next 2 years, by November of 2024, all three will be permanently changed their signs. HowMaya moving into Scorpio. Each of them moves in 3 times and retrograde out 3 times. She starts entering Scorpio November of 22 and will finally move into Scorpio October the 1st, 23. Sedna starts moving into Gemini June the 15th, 2023, and finishes moving in April the 27th, 2024. Now, Pluto goes retrograde further than these, so he starts moving into Aquarius March the 23rd, 2023, and does not finally move in till November the 19th, 2024. But by the end of 2024, all three of these big transformation change makers will have changed signs, will be in air and deep water. So from earth and air. So it's going to shift things quite dramatically. There's going to be more air, bigger air, with Sedna being the longest in a sign. And that's going to change our energy dramatically. So whenever they're dancing like this, like they are on this full moon and around this time, they are working together to initiate change. All right. Now, one other thing on the chart, or a couple of things actually, it is the T-square between the full moon and Pluto is a cardinal T-square. And we've had so many cardinal T-squares, cardinal squares, cardinal grand crosses over the last few years. There were the 7 Uranus-Pluto squares were in Capricorn and Aries. And so there was those. It was called the cardinal crisis. Every time we have another cardinal T-square like this, it kind of activates all that energy again and says, yes, initiate change. You have a chance to really start something new. Now, what I find quite exciting about this, as with all the patterns I showed you and the concentration, clearly we are in a crisis. You know, we've got an invasion in Ukraine causing a huge refugee crisis, which is going to cause food problems. And, we can see that in the UK, for example, where my birth family all live, their bills have all just gone through the roof, and many people just cannot afford their heat and things right now. We're definitely in a little bit of a crisis. Many of us in the US are quite privileged still. Some parts of that have not hit us yet, but there is immense poverty still in the US as well. And one thing I find really kind of promising, though, about this is the movement of the planets. We are moving towards that Taurus North Node, as I said, and that is Venus ruled, and this is a Venus ruled moon too. So we're moving to our core values. We're moving to what sustains us. We're moving to create more balance. We're kind of being forced by the crisis to look at becoming more self-sustaining and thinking of the we of the greater community in a smaller sense, and then a bigger sense, and then a bigger sense. Countries are being forced to move to greener energy because of the threat of losing the gas from Russia, for a start. We've had an executive order here to create something so that we get more electric vehicles on the road. I can't remember exactly what. You can read the news yourself, but there's all signs. I read another country had increased the production of wind energy rapidly because they're thinking, well, we might not be able to power our grid if we don't do this. And so it's good that people are moving to more local creation. We cannot sustain the shipping of everything, like having an avocado in the depths of northern Canada in winter is just crazy, really. When are we going to learn to be more in alignment? Well, this full moon is part of creating that sustenance, that eight, that infinity. Like what is stable and what is strong and what can take us forward in working together, which is the Libra full moon. So there's a lot of that kind of energy in it. One other thing I really noticed in the chart is that contained in that very squashed energy of all the charts, if we only look at the personal planets, between Pluto and Uranus, and between the nodes, of course, we have Venus in the middle, and Venus rules this full moon, and Venus rules that Taurus North Node. And she has moved into the sign of her exaltation. She is saying, Venus in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of the cosmic soup, is the sign of the collective unconscious. And in Venus, the planet of relationship, we are feeling that interconnectedness and how it must all better work together. And she's a very creative planet. So she's kind of holding that middle. Behind her are Mars and Saturn. They're the ones kind of who will come in and do the work afterwards. Ahead of her, moving towards the North Node, is first Mercury, our mind, and then the Sun, our core, our ego, saying, heart and mind, or mind and core, moving towards the future that Venus is going to come in and create behind. I hope that makes sense to you. All right, so the symbols. Before I read the symbols, I have just a reminder. Please subscribe to my channel if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen on audio. But wherever you listen, either if on YouTube, you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. But I would love some iTunes reviews. You don't have to listen on iTunes to go and give me an iTunes review. Just search my podcast on iTunes, and I would love a review, hopefully a 5-star, but please be honest. So I want to read you the symbols, and it's kind of good that I had to re-record really, because I forgot to read the symbols last time because there's so much going on. So I'm going to read the Sabian symbol first. So Libra 27, we always go up a number up, is an airplane sails high in the clear sky. So the keynote from Dane Rudhyar is a consciousness able to transcend the conflicts and pressures of the personal life. So that kind of talks to what I was saying about the I, our own business, me, transcending above that and thinking of, more. So this picture symbolizes the capacity latent in every individual to contemplate the stress of existence in our world of duality from a higher level. Through the use of his mind, backed by the efforts and struggles of past generations and the cooperation of other men, the individual can gain a new perspective on human problems and reach freedom and peace in a supernal realm of being. So this introduces us to the realm of unity beyond polarity, a big thing of mine. And it's so much about the Aries Libra axis. Rudhyar says this is a stage of transcendent realization. As we have both the sun and the moon highlighting it, the lights shining on that, I think there is going to be a transcendent realization for many of the we of working together and bringing more partnership moving forward. Now, the Chandra symbol is really, really interesting too, because it actually mentions the full moon on the full moon. So it's a black leopard beneath a full moon. It says, pursuing what is desired and nothing else, probing, waiting, stalking, strategically watching for openings, one pointedly intent upon grabbing and holding what you lost somewhere and must find again. Going for reminders, facsimiles, totems, hungry for proof that it is there, that it is possible. Alone forever, you are deeply seeking the other side of yourself. This is very Libra too. The inner partner, the true motivating spark. You have gotten lost in the dark, identified with the one who needs and lacks, the one who is broken fragments of experience. But you are hot on the track of any signs that your love essence can be found in another, in a situation, or within yourself. You search everywhere and come up empty. The one inside will be there when the outer versions cannot sate your hunger. And as a last resort, you feel into your own solitary spaces, willing to meet whoever is there and love them with all your heart. So that one I will post in the show notes. It's deep, and I kind of think people need to contemplate those words. So this full moon, it's a big one. And after this, we've got the eclipses on April the 30th and May the 16th, I think. And so I'll be doing my podcast episodes for those. Also, I've started an interview series. I've got 2 interviews up so far. One with my friend Shelley Entine on Chariklo or Chariklo, the centaur, who is Chiron's wife. And they can be found on my YouTube channel and on the Audible audio of the podcast. And then I had a lovely Tea with Louise chat with another friend, Saul Jonassen, and we talked about esoteric astrology. I have another guest coming up soon. I'm actually traveling the week of April the 4th through the 11th. But after that, I've got an interview set up with Desiree Roby Antilla of Only Purely Sun Signs, I think, or Only Sun Signs. Anyway, she's written a new book on relationship astrology, and I've done an endorsement for the book, and I really enjoyed her book. So, seeing as we're both astrological authors, I've invited her on for tea, so I hope you'll check that out. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and check the little bell, you'll get notified when I upload these videos and interviews, and you won't have to look for them on social media. Or if you're subscribed on iTunes or wherever you prefer to listen, you will also get to hear those interviews. And so I think that's it. I think that's all I want to say about this full moon. Um, the biggest thing for me is not just the full moon. I cannot get over how concentrated these planets are. It's so intense. And the reason I think it's going to start to shift after this full moon is that Mercury will cross Uranus shortly after the full moon, and then on April the 23rd, cross that North Node. So things are going to start to ease. But right now, this is such a pot of alchemy, of transformation, of huge opportunity for both personal and collective growth. And it's astounding and challenging, but I know we've got this. So until next time, it's the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. Bye from me.